Hey guys, how you doing? Today I'm going to be making my first Blender tutorial for you guys. I am running Blender version 2.76, which is represented right up here. Also, I'm using screencast keys so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'll do another tutorial another time to show if you guys want to make Blender tutorials yourselves. Then I'll show you guys how to get screencast keys add-on. But today I'm just gonna show you guys around Blender so you guys can do whatever you want to do with Blender. And I'll put a link below this video to the website where you can download Blender for yourselves. They have their newest version is 2.78, which is a little bit different than this, only slightly, but enough that you won't, it may confuse you just a slight bit. But first things first, this is the 3D area where you'll have your like meshes, which meshes are what we call objects, what we call your 3D objects inside Blender. So this right here is a cube mesh that is automatically there when you boot up Blender. So you can do like Shift X. Oh, did I mention I'm using Blender Sensei? I'll also put a link below to that website so you can get that. That's an add-on that you'd put on in the add-ons. I'll show you guys how to install it in a future video. But today I'll just show you around. So yeah, in here you can hold Shift X and delete that, and then you can hold Shift A. And then there's as you see, there's an add menu that shows a bunch of different things that you can add in the meshes. There's planes, cubes, circles, all sorts of different things. But I think this came with the Blender Sensei add-on. There's a block wall that you can add. Then there's a mesh light. Oh, I'll have to show you guys that a little bit later. Then there's a landscape. This comes with an add-on. I'll show you guys that later. So you can like add stuff, say sphere. Then see how it didn't really go exactly in the middle of this grid. That's because you have this cursor thing that is where if you, so say you move the cursor way over here, you add an object, say an icosphere or cube, then it adds right, the center of that object will be right where that cursor is. So if you want to center that cursor, you hold Shift, you click Shift S, and then you have this snap menu that comes up. You can add, if you have something selected, then you can move the selection to the grid, selection to the cursor, selection to the cursor offset. I don't really understand what this one does, but then there's this under menu that does cursors to selected, cursor to center. The cursor to selected makes it so like if you selected this sphere down here, it would make it so the cursor right up here, make it so the cursor would go to the sphere. So let's do that. You click it, you do this, cursor to selected, and then it makes it so it goes there. And so then you can just move it around again by right clicking, as you can see right here. But then there's another one that does cursor to center. If you click that, it moves it to the center of the grid. Then there's another one, and then this one I've never used this one before. So cursor to grid, I guess it just snaps it to like the grid somewhat. And then the cursor to active pretty much is the same thing as cursor to selected. I don't know what the difference is between those. Oh yeah, cursor to active makes it so the cursor goes to this green dot right here. I don't know what it would do if you had the green dot is somewhere else. This is the origin of your object that you have right here. So say you spawned an object in way out here. You could, and it's like wrong, you don't want it to be there, you want it to be in the center. You can do this, cursor to center, then you do it again, except this time you do selection to cursor and it moves that there. Let's get rid of the sphere. So now you have this cube in the center. Also, if you can click tab and it'll take you in edit mode. And here you can edit your objects more precisely, with more precision, make it look more smooth or whatever. And you can like select separate faces on it. Oh, that what I just did, except that was an accident. So like then you have this area down here where you have vertices, edges, and faces. You have faces where you can grab entire like edges and stuff like that. Then there's edges where you just grab one edge of the object. Then there's the vertice where you just grab like one corner area. Also, if you can click A to select everything, or you can double click outside of it to make it so everything's deselected. So let's click A. You can click W, which will subdivide it. Subdividing pretty much means that you take whatever object you have and you. So I'm stumbling over words right now. So you have this face. If you subdivide it, it turns it into 4. You split it evenly into 4 different squares. If you if you get rid of that, you can go to edge mode, and if you just select a single edge and you subdivide it, then it becomes 2 separate edges. And that means that it's 3 separate vertices. Vertices are like the corners and stuff like that, where you can make corners. So you have that, turn it back into a solid, that, and then vertices, it doesn't really, you can't subdivide vertices, I don't think. Can you? No, you can't subdivide vertices. So if you take the entire object and you take the mesh, also you can, this menu, I'm pretty sure it's this menu where you can, man, my mind just blanked, where you subdivide, this menu, you can subdivide through this menu, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in here. Oh, I need to show you what extruding is. If you click E, you can extrude, and it makes, whatever faces you have, they go in whatever direction you want them to go, so you can, so if you have the entire object selected and you extrude, it'll pretty much duplicate the object, except they're linked in some way, I think. So you can undo that. Then there's a duplicate button which will duplicate them. But if you're in edit mode and you have multiple objects that are the same, these are both the same object even though they're separate. If you click tab again and go into object mode, these are the same object. Watch, I can try to select one of them and it will select both of them no matter what I do. But you can also click tab again, go into edit mode. If you just want to select both of them, you go here. This right here, if it's selected, makes it so if this is deselected, you can see through the object. See through objects, like see how this corner up here, I see it through the object, and then you can. Sometimes it can be annoying, sometimes it can be useful. So if you have this, you can select like entire objects. So you want to select. So you can click B, and then you can make a square to select the entire object. I forgot how to lasso select, but then if you do that, you can click P, and then you can separate vertices from the object and turn them into separate objects. So you can turn the selection that you have by material, and you can also do it by loose parts. But I'm going to do it by selection. So this is now a different cube. Go out of this. Now you have 2 separate cubes. Also, right here, you have this menu right here that shows all your items. You can click them, and it does the exact same thing as in here. Then there's also like scene lights, stuff like that, which are useless in what I use because I'm in Cycles Render. Cycles Render does like ray tracing, so if you render, let's set up a simple scene really quick. I'm gonna start from fresh file so it makes things a little bit easier. So you can let's add like a plane, so that add a plane, so it's like the ground. You scale it to a factor of like let's say 10, and then let's add a cube. Oh, if you click G, you go. Oh, what the? Oh, sorry, my screencast is off. Now it's on again. There you go. Now you can probably see what I'm doing. So you can grab this cube, and then oh, you can click G to grab your items. I've probably been doing this without explaining it. You can click G, but then you can click Z for the up and down axis, and then you can click Y for one of the side to side, and then X for another. And it makes it so only moves on that axis. So I'm just going to move it on Z to a factor of 1. Each one of these cubes is a factor of 1 in each direction. This cube is a 2x2 cube. A 2x2x2 cube, I should say. So you have this cube, then you can go up here into this really useful area. I'm not going to get into this area just yet, but this is the material. This right here, this multicolored sphere area, is where you can add materials to your objects or meshes, whichever you want to call it. I'm probably going to be a bit confusing. Right now I'm using cycles render, so things are a bit different. You can make things so they're like diffuse. It's just a color, just a normal color. Then there's glossy, glass, all sorts of different things you can do here. I'm going to just do diffuse. I'm going to make it yellow just because I can. And then I'm going to make the ground. You can add another color to that. I'm just going to make it diffuse green. Oh, and right here, you can make it, you can go to, oh, right here, where I was adding the color, you go to surface. Oh, let's add a new object. I wasn't explaining very clearly. Let's grab this, move it up so you can see it. So you have this where you can select any of the materials that already exist, and you can put them on the material, put them on whatever object you want to put them on. Or you can click this new button, which adds a whole new material, and then you can select whatever colors. But I'm just going to delete this object I just added. So yeah, in surface, this is where you just normal surface stuff, and then I think I can't remember what volume does. There was another. No wait, that was an internal rendering engine. I'll explain that in another video. Right now I'm just explaining the cycles with Blender Sensei. In here, this little planet tab, you can go to surface, and then you can change what color the sky is. So I'm just gonna make this like a light blue, and then you can click Shift Z, and then you have this nice little scene. So my cube is a little bit messed up. Yeah. It's not supposed to be green. Okay, let's make it blue so you can actually see the color, because apparently yellow is going to show up green. Oh, well, the sky's blue. That makes sense. In the Cycles rendering engine, things in the internal engine are a little bit different than the Cycles engine, because internal engine, light is produced by just points, just tiny vertices, like these corners, just tiny vertices. They're only there. They have no width, nothing. They're just producing light. But in the Cycles engine, you can do that, but it's not very useful, and it's not very well used. But instead, most of what you do in Cycles rendering engine is that you add like planes, like the ground I've added here, and you can turn them into lights. Just actual surfaces. You can light them up in like this right here. You can choose emission, and see, now it's lit up. And the thing about the Cycles rendering engine up here is that it has ray tracing, as in the lighting in this rendering engine is much more realistic than the other rendering engine. Oh, and you guys may have noticed that up here there's a Blender game engine, which I'll explain in another video as well. So let's get back in here. I'm just gonna show you what you can do with just a plane lighting it up. Let's make the sky black so everything's dark. This plane will be the only source of light. Let's rotate it on the y-axis so that it's facing the cube a little bit better. It's sort of screwed up, but let's just leave it. Actually, no, let's rotate it on what? Oh, yeah. If you click Z, you get the wireframe of whatever items you have, so you can see through items. Though, if you have a really complex mesh, it can be it can be a pain to be able to tell what you're doing in that regard. So let's add a material to this new item. Let's make it a emission, and let's just make it white. And the strength, I don't know how you can tell how strong the light. Oh, let's just go into let's just render it. See how the lighting is pretty realistic for Cycles rendering engine. Oh, another thing, Cycles rendering engine. You need a bit faster engine for things to work correctly, and for your computer not to crash, everything like that. You need a pretty good CPU. It's better with GPU though. That's what I'm using. I should probably show you that right here. I have GPU, but you need like NVIDIA or something like that to be able to use that. Usually it runs off of CPU, but with the normal internal engine, CPU is better, but with the Cycles rendering engine, it's much better with the GPU. Sometimes much better, sometimes it can be worse, but it just depends on your computer. But yeah, with the strength, let me just show you, like if you take it up to 50 rather than 1, you have this glaring light rather than this just timid light and lighting. You can, and as you can see, the cube is just, the shadows are pretty realistic as long as you. Oh, another thing. With the Cycles rendering engine, it runs off of samples rather than just rendering it as a way. It has samples. I don't fully understand what the sampling represents. All I know is that the higher the sampling, the slower it renders, but the more realistic it'll look. But also, if there's a higher sampling, the more likely your computer is to crash. I know that from experience. From the few of the videos I've posted, few of the animations, those crashed. Few of those crashed in the middle of them rendering, and I had to do them all over again because of the cycles. The sampling was too high. So I'm just gonna select this cube here, and I'm gonna show you guys like glossy. See how it's like a mirror. It's like completely smooth. It's a mirror. It's mirroring everything that's going on around it. It's pretty cool. Then you have this roughness factor. Have you ever seen like glass or something that you can't see through, or metal that's like, it's sort of reflective but it's like not fully? What the heck is going on right there? So you can take this up. One means that it's completely, almost diffuse in its color. Actually, I think that does mean diffuse. So if you have like 0.5, that's like a little bit reflective, but it's like grainy reflective rather than fully. So let's go from that to glass. I'm gonna show you guys what glass is, so you can see through it and stuff like that. But the same thing. You have this roughness factor, so it's like you have the glass. You know those windows where it's completely clear. That would be at like a 0. So, or probably not a 0, but probably something else in that way or form. So yeah, you have the glass, but if you have it like 0.5, it means it's like pretty rough. Plus, it reflects light pretty well. I suggest like a 0.1 if you're gonna do glass, because it reflects. It does a bit of reflecting through it a little bit better. It looks cooler sometimes, depending on the scene. 0.1 would be better, or 0 would be better. It just depends on what you're doing. Then you have all sorts of different things you can do here. Let's move on to like particle effects. Actually, I should probably do that in a separate video because that's a whole new region. Texturing, this area I have never gotten into because that's only if you're doing like really, really complex textures. And usually, even if I'm doing complex textures, I don't do that. Well, yeah. If I skipped anything in this video that you would like me to talk about, like if you wanted me to talk about this side panel over here or something like that, just tell me in the comments. I'll try to scrub over that in the future tutorials, and I'll see you in the next video.